would watch him beat up his students, you know.
Oh,
and
that kind
I
of
wasn't used to that because I came from a place, you know, here in Corpus that wasn't like that. Like we everything was it was
Respect.
more controlled and stuff. Yeah, it was respect, and even whenever we would spar, it was controlled. But you know, if me and my friends wanted to beat each other up, we'd beat each other up.
It's
But
a
wasn't
mutual
like,
thing.
It wasn't right. It wasn't forced by the instructor. Like, hey,
Exactly,
you're
yeah.
gonna go and you're gonna go, and
Yeah.
y'all better go hard.
80%,
Finish him. It's
80% at
Cobra
least.
Kai?
Like, yeah.
Correct.
So he's basically
Cobra
Cobra
Kai.
Kai.
Then I heard this guy having conversations with his friends, with his students that had been there for a while. You can tell they would sit around with him after class. I'd be getting my shit together, and they're sitting around with him after class, and he's teaching them how to do steroids.
Whoa.
And these guys, I was 21 at the time, and these guys were probably like, I don't know, 18, 17, 18, 19.
Oh shit, dude!
And he's
Fucking
teaching them how to do steroids, like how to cycle on and off steroids and shit. And I'm like, this dude is fucked up, man. This guy's messed up. So I trained there for a little bit longer, and then I quit. I was like, I'm done with that. And what I did was I kept practicing at home, like shadow boxing and my punches and footwork, and I would do that all the time. And then anyway, I graduated with my associates, and I had 3 places to go to get my bachelor's degree. It was Tampa. Well, I had 4, but one was already out of the question, which was Indianapolis, because I'm like, who the hell wants to live in Indianapolis? It's probably a cool city, not talking shit about Indianapolis.
Yeah.
But, coming from the coast, I'm like, oh, why do I want to move to freaking away from the water? Right?
Yeah.
I'm not moving to Indianapolis. So I had Tampa, Arizona, which I didn't want to go to because I also wasn't near the water, and Seattle area, right? And I was thinking about going to Tampa because I'm a Miami Dolphin fan. So I was like, dude, if I live in Tampa for college, I can go to the Dolphin
To the
games.
games.
This would be awesome, dude. And my parents are like, no, go to Arizona because it's super close and we could fly you home so we could see you. And it's going to be cheaper. And I was like, yeah, that's true too, but I'm not moving to Arizona. So one day in college, I looked up Maurice Smith's gym because I was a huge fan of his since before I went to college. I looked up his gym. I don't know why I did it. I was just like, I wonder where he trains.
Where he trains at, yeah.
Yeah. So I looked it up, and it brought up a directory. I don't know if y'all are old enough to remember this shit, but before there were actual Google Maps and everything else, people would make directories to find things.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
So I found a United States martial arts gym directory.
So it's basically like a catalog.
It
that
looks like a
people have-
spreadsheet
It's
on the
almost like
internet.
a Wikipedia, old school. Like people contributed to like,
Yeah.
hey, you're looking for this information. We've
Kinda.
cataloged it for you.
I
That's
think-
pretty
yeah.
cool. That's
Yeah,
fucking cool.
and I came across one of those, and I went down. It was alphabetical order, and I found his gym.
Yeah.
It was called Maurice Smith Kickboxing and Submission Center, and it was in Bellevue, Washington. And I'm like, where's Bellevue? So I looked it up, and it was like 20 minutes from the college that I potentially could go to.
Whoa.
Wow.
And I was like, well, that's where I'm going.
Destiny.
Yeah.
Because I want to go train with Maurice. He's my favorite fighter.
Right.
And I moved, and then I joined his gym, and I was supposed to start college. I was already kind of going to the college, getting stuff ready and everything, and talking to the counselors or whatever and all that crap. And then I thought to myself, I said, you know what, man, I'm only like 23, 22 years old. Can't remember. I'm young. I'm in this gym that's like amazing. I wasn't training with Maurice at the time yet.
Right.
But he was there every day. I just started it. I went to a fight at the gym. Like they had all these amateur fights. All these guys, they were all really good. And I was like, dude, this is like a chance while I'm young to do this.
Right.
I can go to school anytime. I can be 60 and go to school.
Yeah. True.
I'm just gonna do this. I'm not going to school. So I moved there to go to school and train with at Maurice's gym. And I ended up just saying, I'm putting school on hold. I'm just going to train with
Really quick
Maurice's
for
gym.
anybody listening, for that one guy listening, the bathwater's on its way. for that
Randy's
guy
mom.
listening, can you explain who Maurice Smith is?
Okay, so Maurice Smith, arguably, and a lot of people argue this. I don't really argue, but whatever. Arguably, he's the greatest heavyweight kickboxer of all time. And the reason why people say that are true fans of not just him, but of kickboxing, is because he's, I don't know about now with Rico, but Verhoeven, but Maurice was the only heavyweight to go almost 10 years undefeated. And I think in those 10 years, I think he defended his title belts like 28 times. So he wasn't fighting like chumps.
But yeah, like he fought like Peter Arts, right? Or
That was later.
But he's fought like names that.
Yeah, I was gonna
if you
say
know
something.
about fighting,
So-
Yeah,
you know
exactly.
the name. If you don't know his
Exactly.
name, you've known the names of people he fought for
right.
sure.
So there lies the problem, right? So the people who don't consider Maurice the greatest heavyweight kickboxer of all time, they're people who started watching K1 era.
Okay.
So if you started watching kickboxing in K1 era, Maurice didn't do so well in K1. But the reason, and this is me talking, not Maurice. I've never asked Maurice why. This is my reasoning from my better understanding of martial arts and fighting from being in it for so long. And, of course, being at his gym and watching him, is that at a certain time, Maurice decided, again, this is me I'm not putting words in his mouth. This is me saying how I think he felt.
Right.
He probably got bored with kickboxing
Mm-hmm.
and wanted to do something different. And MMA was coming out, and he jumped to MMA. That's what I think happened. I think if I asked him, he'd
okay,
probably say
okay.
it was true.
Yeah.
He'd probably be like, "Yeah, I wanted to do something else."
It had something
I mean,
to do with it, definitely at
he'd been doing
least.
kickboxing for, over a decade.
And not only that, he's probably like the best of it while he was
Dude.
doing it. So he's like, let's try something different. I can start over and be fun again.
I think he was world champion when he was like 20 or something.
What
Yeah.
the fuck?
Yeah, it was like his second or third pro fight was for the title, and he won.
Damn, that's crazy.
Second or third pro fight, like that's insane.
That is crazy, dude.
They just throw you in there. They're like, yeah, dude, you're
Here's the
gonna fight
champ.
the champion, and
You
he
just
won.
fight the
And
champ,
but
yeah.
obviously to
It's like
fight
a movie.
But
I think he lost. I think they made him fight the champ his first fight, first pro fight.
But he was probably
And then he lost,
But
and
he
then
was
he
probably a
rematched,
contender in the amateur series, right? That's why they
So-
even considered him.
So I don't know for sure. It's really weird, man, because a lot of the information I know about Maurice's career didn't come from Maurice because he doesn't talk about his career much.
Uh-huh.
When me and Maurice talk, we just talk about life. We talk about whenever I was a fighter, he talked about me.
Yeah.
Right? He talked about me learning, doing things like that. He didn't really talk about himself. So a lot of things I know came from his manager,
Mm-hmm.
who was our manager at the gym.
Right.
He would tell me a lot of stuff about Maurice. So from what I remember, I think Maurice was only he was like 7-0 as an amateur, I think. And then he turned pro.
But that's still a good record.
Yeah, but 7 fights is like.
Yeah,
Seven
it's not.
fights,
And
like-
this, here's the thing that people
Most
don't
people rack up
understand.
like 20.
Correct. Here's the thing
Yeah.
that people don't understand is Maurice was, he didn't have a lot of amateur fights. And then he went pro, and he's winning against guys from Europe and other places in the country where they have more fights, where they fight a lot more often.
Right. Because
You
they
know
don't
what I
have
mean?
as
And
much
he's-
regulations and shit we do
He's
here
beating,
in the States.
he's beating these guys, and then he's not only that, but he starts beating them in their own game because in the United States, what did we do? We did that PKA or PKC or whatever, the above the
Kick above. Yeah, you
okay.
couldn't kick
ab-
legs.
kick above the belt, wear the goofy pants or whatever.
Yeah.
We did that, and then he went to other countries and did low kicks and beat them at their game. And people don't understand. They don't give him the credit that he deserves. Well, there are a lot of people that do, but he ushered that into the United States, in my opinion. Like that didn't really exist for us. We weren't Americans weren't looked at as good Thai boxers or European style kickboxers.
Yeah.
We weren't. I mean, we had like Benny the Jet and all those. They were all great. They all did above the belt,
Yeah.
PKA rules or whatever. They were world champions like that.
Yeah.
Maurice did that too when he first started, but he started doing all this stuff before everybody else, as far as I know.
Damn, that's fucking crazy.
And he had an amazing career at it. But my point is, people who don't give him the credit are all K1 fans. So I've talked to guys like this.
Yeah,
They're
I
like,
see.
oh no, Maurice is not. I mean, he's not as good as Ernesto Hoost or Peter Ertz or blah blah and this that and the other. And I said, what you don't understand, dude, is when he fought those guys, he was already doing MMA. So now you got to think, you're fighting somebody who only does kickboxing or Muay Thai
Yeah.
while you're doing wrestling and grappling.
Exactly.
Now
And
you're
jujitsu,
spending
yeah,
time of your day learning this other stuff.
Yeah, while they're doing it predominantly.
Correct.
Yeah.
And you put hours on it. You think like, I spent 6 hours. When I was training at Maurice's gym, I'd be there for 6 hours. And a lot of people don't believe that. And I always tell them like, no, you don't understand. I got out of work at about 3:30. I would drive straight to the gym. Sometimes I get to work at 4:30. I would drive straight to the gym and I would wait for them to open it. And the manager would get there about 5 and he'd open up the gym. And I would walk in with him. I'd like literally park and just right in front of the door and I'd just wait. And he would, sometimes I'd fall asleep in my car or whatever. And then he'd open the gym and I'd walk in with him and I'd get dressed and I'd start doing everything, all my warm-ups. So push-ups, sit-ups, squats, leg throwdowns, all that stuff, and then jump rope and shadow box and my footwork drill that I did every day, and ride the bike, and sometimes I'd lift weights, whatever, all this stuff that I would do. And then everybody else would start trickling in.
Yeah.
Mm.
And then I would train with whoever. Whenever I first started, I would take classes.
Mm-hmm.
And then after that, once I was done with, that, then I would train longer. And then I got invited to fight. So then I would train with the fight team. This was from the beginning. Train with the fight team. And then after that, I would keep training until they closed.
Yeah.
That'd be the last. The manager would open and Maurice would usually close.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes the manager would close if Maurice was out of town or he wasn't there. But Maurice is a night owl, so he'd stay there. He'd be the last one to leave.
Right.
And I remember before I barely knew him, he'd always just be like, hey, I'm going to close. And I'd be like, okay. And I'd go get my stuff and pack up and walk out with him. Excuse me. And I'd be there for 6 hours. So we'd probably leave around 11. So what's that, 5?
And
Yeah,
you were
hours,
just a
dude.
kid in the class, right? Like
Yeah, man,
Did you meet him when you first started training? Like, hey, it's good to meet you and stuff like that. Just of course, I came to train because it's your gym.
So this is really cool. This is really cool. I think it's cool. When I have to tell this part of the story because it's not just about this part of the story is not about just Maurice. It's about someone else I watched on television. Mm-hmm. So when I was going to college here at Del Mar, I had these classes that were very separate. Like hours, like they were like 2 hour separation or something. So I was like, well, I'm just gonna drive home. And I would drive home and it was always just in time for Strike Force. So I would make lunch and I'd turn on Strike Force and I'd watch kickboxing or Muay Thai or whatever they're showing. Well, there's this female fighter. Her name was, she fought under the name of Bambi Bertoncello. Bambi. Her name was Jenna Bertoncello. And she was really good. And I was kind of a fan. Like I was like, dude, this chick kicks ass. Like this it's a good female fighter. So I'd see her every so often on Strike Force. And then one day I paid attention whenever she was fighting, and they announced her fighting out of Maurice Smith Kickboxing in Bellevue. And I was like, oh, like I never paid attention. I was probably eating or getting my food or whatever.
Yeah.
And one day I saw it, and I was like, damn, she fights out of Maurice's gym. Like, and she's good.
Yeah.
So
that's just
anyway,
like another testament to like this
correct.
gym's gonna be badass.
Right. I was like, damn, dude, so she's good. So the first day I walked into Maurice's gym, when you walk in the doors, the glass doors, on your left, there's a showcase. Those little, what are they called? Like, where you put
the gloves and stuff, like
where you put the
display.
gloves
Yeah,
and the display. Thank you.
Exactly.
The glass display. So there's like a showcase. I believe it's a showcase, and then straight ahead is the ring, and right next to the ring there was exercise bikes lined up, and they're all facing the front door. So right when I opened the door, I see this girl riding an exercise bike, reading a magazine while she's riding. And she looks up, and I was like, oh, that's Bambi.
Yeah.
Like, that's crazy.
That's
so
cool
to
as
me,
fuck.
that was like a celebrity, right?
No, yeah. I totally
So,
get it.
Definitely.
I walked in, and I see this girl that I used to watch on television all the time. Like, oh, that was my first introduction to Maurice's gym. So I see her, and I was like, oh, damn, that's freaking cool, man. I used to watch this girl on television. And then I turn to my left, and there's Maurice standing right there at the front desk. On the showcase or whatever. And I was like, whoa, shit. Like, it's like I didn't even see him there because when I opened the door, I'm looking straight ahead and I see her. So she was off a little bit to the right.
Yeah.
And he's off a little bit to the left.
Yeah.
So
like
she's the first one I saw. So my head kind of turned a little to the right. And I like looked at her and I was like, oh, that's her. Like, that's crazy. And she's working hard. And she had like a sweatsuit. I think she had a fight coming up. She had like a sauna suit on and she was riding a bike, sweating. And I turned to my left, and I was like, oh, crap, there's Maurice. So he's like, hey, what's going on? And I was like, I want to join the gym or whatever. And he gives me this brochure thing. And he goes, hi, I'm Maurice. And I shook his hand, and I go, I know who you are. And he goes, and you are? Because it's not polite, right? Like he introduced himself and I'm shaking his hand and I say, I know who you are. And then I don't say anything after. I'll never forget this, dude.
The conversation's over.
Yeah, man. Yeah. And he goes, and you are? And that was my introduction to Maurice's sarcasm and just his charismatic person that he is. And I never forget this, and I brought this up to him a couple of years ago, and he goes, I don't remember saying that, because Maurice says a lot of stuff, so he's not going to remember everything. I said, the first time I met you, I told you my name. I said, my name's Freddie. And he goes, oh, we're going to have to change that. It's like he didn't like my name, I guess, or
Automatically.
it sounds cheesy for a fighter or something. I don't know. I mean, he's just messing with me. And I was like, oh, okay. And I signed up. But yeah, that was the first person I saw was Jenna, and then I saw Maurice. And that was really cool. I was
solidified it.
See, yeah, to me, I'm walking in this gym and I'm like, Maurice is probably this fighter that's like only there at certain times.
And he don't talk to you.
He ain't gonna be at the front desk.
Yeah.
He's not gonna be. Yeah.
He don't talk to you. He's
Nah, man.
business.
Right.
Yeah.
And I was like, dude. And I looked around. I think he was like, you look around or whatever. I looked around and it's a small gym. It wasn't real big and. They had an 18-foot ring, and they had this area on the side to work out, and some mats that they like put out for grappling, and that was it. So 3 bags, little weightlifting area, and then he had his NBA Jam arcade in the corner.
That's fucking cool, dude.
Dope.
So when I opened my gym,
That's cool.
my dream was to get an NBA Jam arcade.
Yeah.
To for the nostalgia. I was like, I had looked them up there like 10 G's or something. I was
Yeah,
like, okay,
yeah.
can't
Yeah,
I mean,
that's
now
what
they
that
have
is.
Arcade 1-Up, but not back in the day.
I was gonna get one of those when it first came out.
Yeah.
For the gym, because I was like, dude, my dream was to get an NBA Jam arcade for the gym, and then Arcade 1-Up came out, and I was like, I'm gonna get that. I know it's not the legit one, but it's a little miniature version,
It's gonna be
Yeah,
good.
yeah.
and it would just be so cool for photos, and I could take pictures of Maurice and be like, hey, check this out, Maurice, I got an NBA Jam. And then I saw the price, and I was like, I can't afford that right now. Like
Yeah.
I didn't. I think I had the money, but it's one of those things of like.
Do I need it?
Do I need to spend that money on that? Like it's like I can buy it, but
Yeah.
I might need that money. What if my car
Yeah,
breaks
something
down or
happens,
something?
yeah,
Right,
it's
right,
like-
right.
It's,
It was
a cool like homage throwback.
right, right. And I kind of regret it to this day. But that's the way it started. And then whenever I got there, I took class. So I mean, that's what you're supposed to do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I started taking class, and then so I met him then, but I had never trained with him yet. And then he taught class every so often. And I believe the first time he taught class, I think it was the first time, he jumped in. He's like, all right, guys, blah, blah, line it up or whatever. And we lined up, we did our exercises, whatever. And I'm freaking out, right? I'm like geeking out, dude. I'm like, dude, Maurice about to teach stuff. This is cool, man. He's going to teach class.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Before him, I was getting taught by a female fighter. And she was amazing, dude. She was a fantastic instructor. And I was kind of freaking out. I was like, this is weird. Like, I've never been to a gym where a female was teaching me stuff. And I'm not saying that that's a negative thing, but I hadn't experienced it yet.
Right.
Yeah.
Right? My experience was Stacy, and then his assistant, who was a guy, and then that weirdo dude in San Antonio. That was my whole experience of martial arts. And then this girl's teaching class, and she was really good. I was like, man, this girl, her name's Kimiko. And she was really cool, a very nice person. And one day, I guess she wasn't there, and Maurice jumps in, and he's just teaching class. I'll never forget this, man. He has us lined up against the wall, and he's showing us this stuff, and he's showing us how to block a head kick. And he's using me as a dummy, and I'm sitting there watching him, and I'm paying attention to the technique of what he's talking about. So I don't remember exactly what went down, but I think I'm paying attention to technique, and I'm also freaking out that Maurice is using me as a dummy, and I'm like, he's standing right in front of me, and he's teaching, and he throws a head kick that I'm supposed to defend, and he freaking lands it right on the back of my neck.
Oh my god.
And I remember it like dazed me a little bit. His heavy ass leg, it's just like boom. That's what it sounded like to me, right? It's like boom. And my whole neck went forward like I got whiplash a little bit. He didn't kick me super hard.
Yeah.
It was just he just threw his leg up there. His
Yeah,
leg's
yeah.
so heavy.
Oh, I know that feeling.
Yeah.
Trust me, I know that feeling.
his leg was so heavy. And I was like, oh, and he goes, dude, you're supposed to block that. And I felt so dumb. Everybody started laughing. And he goes, are you all right? I said, yeah, I'm good. And he was like, I thought you were going to block it. I said, yeah, I'm sorry. I like spaced out.
We didn't get to that
I
part
wasn't-
yet.
I wasn't even thinking, dude,
You're teaching it.
you were showing the kick. You hadn't shown me the kick. Yeah. So yeah, that was my introduction to training with Maurice for the first time
Nice.
was in class. And then I took class, man, maybe like 3 months. And then one day I was there early and I was about to start working out, and the manager walked up to me and he's like, hey, do you want to fight? And I was like, yeah. So
This is after how long?
I was there for 3 months.
3
So-
months, and they asked you if you wanted to fight.
Yeah, but you have to understand, I
You
trained
had
I trained
prior.
here.
Yeah.
Oh,
I trained
yeah,
prior.
yeah. So, yeah,
I trained
okay.
prior.
And then you were there 6
I
hours
was there
every day.
every day.
So
And
they're
I
like,
think,
nah,
I
this
think
guy's
that's
about
what,
it.
Right. I think that's what made him. And one of the reasons why I was there so long was because I want to say my dad he didn't beat this into us, but I think he kind of subliminally taught us this, is that you don't ask for things when it comes to like sports and stuff. He's like, you show that you show your interest.
You earn it.
Yeah, you don't go kiss the coach's ass. You don't. And my dad, with baseball and everything else, you didn't see him over there in high school like talking to the coaches all the time.
Being like, let him pitch.
He didn't even know the coaches. You know what I mean? And I'm not talking crap about other people's dads, but there were dads there that were there constantly talking to the coaches, constantly getting to know them, constantly like, it's just like
building relationships.
Right. My dad wasn't like that. My dad, he always taught us to like, hey, if you're good enough, then you show it.
And they'll find you.
Right.
You don't have to ask. They'll come.
Sadly, the world doesn't really work 100% like that. Exactly. Like you got to know people. Right. Sadly. But anyway, so when I got to Maurice's gym, that's what I did. I mean, I showed up early. I was the first one there and the last one to leave. And the manager came and asked me, he's like, hey, do you want to fight? And I was like, yeah. And he goes, okay. He's like, well, you're going to fight at this date. I think it was like 2 months later or something. And he's like, you start training with the fight team. So I still took class because the fight team didn't start until a little bit later, like maybe right after class. So I would show up and I would do my thing and then I would take class. And then after that, I'd jump in the fight team. But that wasn't Maurice.
Oh, okay.
I was training with Maurice didn't train amateurs like the fight team. He wasn't in charge of the amateur fight team.
Oh, okay.
That was Kurt, who was a manager. He was in charge of the amateur fight team. This is from a student or a fighter's perception. I'm not saying they had something where they're like, you're in charge of this. Yeah. That was just from my perception. It's like, okay, he's the amateur fight coach.
Yeah.
So I trained with him and the fighters, and then I had my first fight there at Maurice's gym. I mean,
it was like a smoker, or was it like
no? So here's the cool part about Washington State at the time. You could have fights. You didn't have to have this crazy insurance, and it wasn't sanctioned through the state necessarily.
Oh, okay.
Like it is here. Like here, from what I heard here, just to put on a show, this is not even paying the venue. Is like 14 G's. This was like 10 years ago.
Just to get like the permits or
just to get all that. That's not even the venue included. That's just like paying the state and the insurance and the bonds and all this other crap and the paramedics and the doctor. And it was like 14, 17 G's to put on just an amateur fight. In Seattle, they were all about like promoting fights and getting people good.
Yeah.
And the boxing commission or whatever they had there didn't stick their foot into kickboxing and Muay Thai and MMA.
So they made it easy.
Correct. The boxing commission stayed in their lane.
Yeah.
They're like, we're the boxing commission.
Y'all do what you want.
We don't know what the hell y'all are doing over there. So we had our own crap. So you could throw real fights wherever you wanted.
That's badass. Do you think it's still like that, or obviously the laws have probably changed, right?
I think they were kind of changing a little bit, but I think they made their own commission, like for MMA and kickboxing, Muay Thai.
Okay.
I don't think the boxing commission has anything to do with it.
So they got ahead of it. They're
I'm
like,
thinking,
no, we'll
correct. Yeah. I don't think that they butted in. Like here in Texas, dude, the boxing commission, they want to rule everything.
Was that your first kickboxing fight?
My first kickboxing fight. That was my first fight.
Do you remember the guy?
Besides street fight, some stupid kids. Shoot, man. I used to know his name. What was his freaking name, man? I don't remember his name. My second fight was a guy named Glenn. Man, I was friends with him on Facebook, too. I can't remember his name. I'm getting old, bro. Oh, no, my first fight, I can't remember his name.
Oh, okay.
I have it on video. I still have it on video.
Did you win?
Yeah, so I won. I won by decision.
So there's judges.
Oh yeah. It was legit.
It was legit.
So no. This was. They would clear out the gym. They would take all the weights out. They would take everything out except for the arcade. We had a big 18-foot ring, and they would get chairs. Like they had rows of chairs. They sold tickets. We had a ringside doctor. We had state-appointed judges. We had a state-appointed ref.
Damn.
Everything was legit. They just didn't have to go through the hoops and red tape that they do here in Texas.
Did your parents come?
No, so my parents didn't go. I told them that they were going to record it.
Okay, just to like save them the trip of like
Yeah, my mom wouldn't get on a plane. I don't think. I don't even. It's funny is I don't think my dad would get on a plane. And the reason why I say it's funny is because he was a paratrooper in the military. He was in Vietnam and stuff. But
wow.
He grew up really poor, and I told him I was going to get on when I was going to come back from Seattle to visit. The first time I was getting on a plane for the first time ever. because when I moved, I drove.
You drove up there, yeah.
And I was talking to him on the phone. I said, Dad, I'm kind of worried about getting on a plane. It's scary. And he goes, well, he said, the first time I got on a plane, I had to jump out. And I laughed. I laughed just like you did. And I said, no. And he goes, yeah. He said, Fred, I grew up poor, man. We didn't have any money. He said, the first time I got on a plane, I had to jump out. He said, I joined the military and rode a bus to, what is it, basic training or whatever. And he said, then I became paratrooper. So they took me to air school or whatever they call it, jump school or whatever they call it. And I forget what he told me, but I think it's jump school.
Yeah.
And he said, yeah, he said, my first time ever on a plane, I had to jump out. And I was like, dude, it made me feel better because I was sitting on that plane. I was getting all anxiety, right?
Yeah.
And then I would just think about that. I'd be like, dude, my dad did this, but he had to jump out. Like,
how fucking terrible, dude.
Yeah.
I'd shit myself, dude.
I was shitting myself just getting on a plane.
Yeah.
Can you imagine doing that for the first time and then being like, I'm going to have to jump out?
Damn, dude, I can't.
So-
I'm on the third floor, just looking over my ledge. I get lightheaded, dude. I'm like, oh fuck.
And
dude.
then eventually, he had to jump out into a place where he's like, when I land, they're gonna try to kill me.
Yeah, I know, right?
So if I survive the fall, there's
Dude.
a guy that's gonna be there waiting with a gun, being like, "Hey, I'm glad you
Dude.
made it. Welcome to our country."
Insane, dude. Yeah, it's crazy, man. Yeah, I would talk to him about that stuff, and he told me like, because they would get paid extra, for being a paratrooper.
Mm-hmm.
I don't remember how much it was a month, but you got paid extra.
Wow.
You got paid extra for the jumps, I think.
Right.
Don't quote me because my memory, he told me this way back when I was a kid and a teenager. He don't talk about Vietnam. He doesn't tell me like he's never talked about anything. He's been there. He was there for 2 years, so I know a lot of things happened. But
My dad never told me nothing.
yeah, he wouldn't talk about it. But anyway, he would talk about that, like his jump school and stuff. I think they got paid per jump. So, like, if you had to make extra money, you would go practice. Like, you'd be like, let's go. Like, you'd go jump out.
even
like,
just training, they'd pay you.
just training. I think they'd pay you. I think, again, I'm not 100%. I think they'd pay you, like, per jump, like, because they want you to practice. It was like an incentive to practice. Like, let's go. But he told me that some guys, they're shoot with cigarette. Like, cigarette means it doesn't deploy.
Yeah.
It just looks like a cigarette.
Oh, okay.
And he's like, dude, you're looking at those dudes like you're fucked.
Man.
Like they're just like
You just know, like, oh, you're not making it. And even if you do, you're going to be jacked up.
it's crazy, dude. But yeah, he's like, yeah, we'd all jump and it's just like one after another. He's like, you look back and you see people and you'd sometimes see the cigarette and you'd be like, oh.
And no backup shoot. Like, you,
I don't know.
You
I was
can't
gonna
even
say,
deploy
that's
that
what I was just about to say.
Well, you'd have to cut the line.
For
and-
practice,
Yeah.
I don't even know if they have that at all. But yeah, that was nuts. Like I think, again, I don't know. I'm not a military guy, so I don't know. But I think that you can like be written up on charges now if you're the packer, if you're the fold. If
Yeah,
you
because I was
fold
going to
you're
say that would be the
held
fault
liable,
of
kinda.
the
You're held
people who
liable.
pack
Yeah.
the shoot. Yeah.
yeah, isn't that nuts? Like I would not want to do that.
Yeah.
You
Well,
get
yeah,
written
I
up
don't
on
want-
charges for like manslaughter, I guess.
Yeah, I wouldn't want to be that job of like, yeah, I'm gonna pack your shoe for. I'm not gonna jump. It's like you
They
should learn
probably
to
did
pack
that
your
so
own.
like them like the entire army is not responsible for something
Right,
like that. It's like
right.
no, it was just that one individual. We should all be
Yeah.
held responsible for.
Nah.
that.
And I don't know if they packed their own back then.
Yeah.
I'm not 100% sure. But I know now. I think they have.
That's
guys.
even more terrifying, I think.
Yeah,
I
because
don't
I
want to be
screw up.
responsible for that. Yeah, I'm like, I don't want to be.
Can you
I'm
imagine-
not that smart of a guy.
Can you imagine the letter they got home too? They're all like, the United States government would like to report that your husband was killed in practice.
Yeah.
But it wasn't the U.S. government's fault. It was Jeff's fault.
Yeah.
It was Jeff.
Jeffrey.
Actually, he decided
Here's
to
his
pack his own.
address.
He decided to pack his own shoot.
Yeah.
Here's a
So-
picture of him. Is where he lives, and this is what he fears the most.
Good luck to you.
Yeah.
Yeah. But that was my introduction to Maurice's gym. It was a magical place, dude. And Maurice agreed with me when I said it, and a couple other guys did too. That I said this to. They all did. The ones that I talked to, that it was the greatest. It was the greatest place on earth. Like it was the greatest gym, dude. We all loved each other. We all cared. We all trained hard together. We all cared about when you had a fight. Didn't matter who, amateur, pro, doesn't matter, dude. We all wanted the best for each other.
Yeah.
There was no BS. There was no drama. There was no cliques. There was no nothing, dude.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I
was
always liked about
just-
your gym. It always
Yes.
because like
I
as,
try to.
as intimidating as it is to see like people who are good at it, like it always felt welcoming.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Like there was never anybody that was like real hostile or anything
Exactly
like that.
how you describe Maurice's gym, even though I didn't know any of y'all, it was the same experience for me. Like it was the same. It was to me. It was seriously like being in a movie.
Right.
I was all like, I'm fucking Claude Van Damme and Kickboxer,
Mhm.
like going to the gym,
I always wanted to be the brother though.
The
It was that kickboxer or
Sasha?
is it Bloodsport?
Right.
No, that's Kickboxer 2. But part 2. But yeah, that's exactly how I felt about the gym. And in the golden era of the gym, it was seriously to this day, it was like the best time of my life.
Yeah, dude. I enjoyed it so much.
And
You're talking about Alexio,
Mhm.
the brother. It's his real name.
yeah.
Oh,
You know what I'm talking about? They can handle
So
hands
that
like this.
guy.
Oh, I thought you were talking about. I
Yeah,
thought you were talking about the younger brother in part 2. But
No,
go on.
that
No.
guy was a real champion.
Champion kickboxer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And if you Google, you'll find stuff about him supposedly wanting to fight Maurice.
No way.
I never asked Maurice, but the way from whenever I Googled a few things, it kind of seemed like he was dodging Maurice.
Oh, so he was talking shit but not really wanting it.
That's from
Dennis
the little
Alexio.
things.
There you go.
But Dennis Alexio versus Maurice Smith, and you might find some stuff.
And for anybody who doesn't know, remember in Kickboxer 1, he's the guy that looks like AC Slater's dad.
He definitely is. He definitely is.
yes.
He's all like, "Can you move like me?"
Yes. Can you? Yeah.
He's like, "We got him."
Yeah. So when I joined Maurice's gym, he was already doing MMA, and that was a different thing. So that's what I was saying about Maurice earlier was, a lot of people know him through being a UFC champion,
Yeah.
but they don't know much about him being a kickboxer because most of his career was 80 through like 89, 90
Mm-hmm.
was kickboxing. And then he started getting into MMA.
And people judged him on that.
And people judged him on his kickboxing after he was already done with it.
Yeah.
Or I don't want to say done with it, but moving into other things. So you have to understand, like, can you imagine trying to keep up in kickboxing, no matter how good you are, trying to keep up with kickboxing with world champions around the world that are training
Just
4 to 6 hours of just kickboxing, but you being the world champion that you were are probably barely doing any kickboxing now because you're going into a new sport.
You have to learn all that.
And you're just doing wrestling and submission.
Yeah, because you kind of already like, I can practice
You have to
kickboxing,
make up
but
for everything else that
Correct.
you haven't learned.
So
Yeah,
let's just,
yeah.
I'm not
Compensate.
saying this is what he did, but if it were me and I'm training 4 or 5 hours, let's say 5 hours, I would do maybe 30 minutes to an hour of striking.
exactly.
And the rest of it, I would just do all grappling.
Drills.
So
yeah.
when Maurice was doing K1, I don't think he was spending very much time striking.
Yeah.
I think if he took a K1 fight, okay, now let's practice, let's train.
Because realistically, his striking was probably already on par, if not better than anybody who was doing just
Correct.
mixed martial arts. So he had to be just as good at everything else
Right.
in case they came at him with that. He's like, because if you can't beat me on my feet, you're gonna take me down. I have to
Right.
be just as good as you.
And this is just me being a detective, right? This is not me having a conversation saying, is this what happened?
Yeah.
This is just me looking at things and being like, this would happen. What made me realize this was one day me and one of my teammates, Tristan, is one of my really great friends, Tristan Witt. He was a great kickboxer. We were talking one day and we were like, dude, do you want to do MMA? And I was like, it's I don't love grappling.
Mm-hmm.
It's not MMA. I like to fight.
Yeah.
And I think he was the same way. He was a wrestler in high school, but he loved kickboxing and Muay Thai.
Mm.
And he was talking to me one day. We were training or in between rounds. He's like, we should do MMA. And I was like, whatever, get more fights, Like, I just want to fight.
Yeah.
I said, but I don't like grappling. He's like, just dude, keep him on the feet, learn how to sprawl.
Oh yeah.
We already
Take
sprawl.
down
We already
defense.
knew how to sprawl and stuff, but we were like,
Right,
get
right.
better at sprawling or whatever, right? And wrestling. And I was like, I'll do it just to fight more.
Yeah.
She's like, let's go talk to Maurice. So we walk over to Maurice's office. He's sitting on his computer or whatever. And we're like, hey, Maurice, we want to talk to you about something. He's like, what's up? And we're like, we're thinking we want to do MMA fights. And I remember this. He turned to us and he goes, pick one. And we were like, what? And he goes, pick one. What do you want to do? You want to do kickboxing, Muay Thai, or you want to do MMA? And we were like, well, what do you mean? He goes, you got to pick one. You can't do both. He never explained to us what he meant. And we both looked at each other, and I was like, kickboxing, Muay Thai. And Tristan said the same thing. He goes, all right. And we walked out. And we were talking, we're like, what the hell is that? I started thinking about it later. Again, this is not from Maurice's mouth. This is me. I started thinking about it later, and I was like, I think he said that because he's proof that at a high level, you can't really do both.
I get what you're saying.
see
You
what I'm
can't. You
saying?
can't devote the same amount of time to,
Yeah.
to
At a
each
high
art.
level.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
You can do it as an amateur.
Yeah.
You can do it as a low-level pro. But when you get to the elite level, you ain't gonna last.
Yeah, you have to focus on one.
You gotta
or the
focus
other.
on one.
Yeah,
dude.
'cause
You
then
don't
you're
have
just gonna
time.
Get thrashed. Yeah.
Correct, because at that level, if you're doing MMA and you're fighting dudes that are only doing kickboxing or even boxing or whatever, you're fighting dudes that are doing that all day, every day.
Yeah.
While you're doing
exactly.
3 or 4 different arts, not gonna work out for you.
Yeah.
Dude.
Yeah.
I don't care how good you are.
It's almost like they're a specialist.
Exactly.
And that is what people don't understand about MMA fighters, is that they're generalists.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
And you have to be a generalist. You can't really be a specialist. So MMA fighters, a lot of MMA fighters, I don't want to say now, but maybe the past 10, 15 years, a lot of them come in as jiu-jitsu
Yeah.
specialists. They
Right.
come in as
Yeah.
black
Right.
belts
Yeah,
or whatever.
yeah,
And
yeah,
they
yeah.
Or
learn.
wrestlers.
Yeah.
There's or even strikers. Because of Maurice, more guys are coming in as strikers. But they're specialists.
Uh-huh.
But you have to get out of that realm and you have to become a generalist.
Yeah.
You kind of can't be a specialist. You can lean towards something.
Exactly. Yeah.
But you're always going to be a generalist. And that's what people don't understand. Like when the whole Conor McGregor's fighting Mayweather crap was going down. I mean, if you guys were sucked in by that, that's cool. I was not. I didn't really care. I wasn't going to pay a dime for that. I was
I
like,
didn't pay it.
No.
I ended up
I'm gonna
watching
watch
it on
everybody else's
Facebook because
Facebook
everybody
Live.
else
Yeah,
freaking did.
exactly what I was gonna say.
Right. I was like, I'll watch on Facebook. And then people were like, afterwards, I'm like, dude, are you like so blind because you love Conor McGregor so much that you weren't really watching? People were like, dude, he almost had Mayweather and blah, blah. And I'm like, dude, if you watch that fight, if you go back and watch it now,
Yeah.
Mayweather was laughing after every round. He was sitting in the corner smiling and joking around with his cornerman because that dude is thinking, I'm making over $100 million for this BS.
Yeah.
like, he was
for
having
this
a
dude
great
who's just
time.
not doing anything to me
Not
right
doing
now. Like,
nothing, dude. And
like-
people actually thought he had a chance.
And
No.
McGregor was gassed after like 3 rounds.
Dude.
Like he was dead,
He
basically.
hit Mayweather with an uppercut. And everybody's like, oh, dude, he almost laid him
He
out that
almost
uppercut.
laid-
I said, dude, it didn't do nothing, dude. Mayweather laughed about it, bro.
Like
That-
Mayweather's
he's been hit
by-
harder than that.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Exactly.
We did a joke on another episode to where we talk about this to where regardless of whether you like Mayweather or not, that people always bring up the times he almost lost. I was like, the key word in
Right.
that is almost. He's
Yeah.
never lost. And it's like, oh, you remember that time he almost lost? It's like, yeah, and then he won. It doesn't fucking matter.
It doesn't
If-
matter, yeah.
If anything, it's more credit to the guy who got lucky enough to like, man, he actually got a land that's cool. It doesn't mean he
Right,
has
right.
anything.
Yeah.
Mayweather's all like, if anything, like, yeah,
Yeah.
live it up. You got that one punch. You got that
Yeah.
one punch.
It's all a money game now, dude. I think that
Yeah,
we're
this whole-
truly getting back to the gladiator days.
Yeah.
As far
You're
as,
right. Yeah,
and I'm not
yeah.
even talking about the sport, right?
freak fights.
I'm talking about I'm talking
Yeah,
about the
this whole
fans.
fucking Logan Paul
Right,
shit. and all
right,
this
dude.
stuff,
It's
dude.
all
like,
it's all the build up. It's all the
Yeah.
that. Nobody. It's like we're all dumber. The society's dumber
yes,
now.
Yes.
So no one has any real. I don't know. They're not smart enough to be like, wait a minute. There's no way this dude's gonna win. Like, this is ridiculous. I'm not paying a dime for this. No, everybody's like, I gotta see it.
They just want to see him fight lions.
Right,
Like,
dude.
that's it.
And that was the
Yeah.
thing with I'm not talking crap about McGregor, right? Because I think he was smart enough to know it doesn't really matter. If I lose against Mayweather, I was supposed to lose.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And if I win, holy crap, I'm gonna make even
no matter
more
what, it's a
money.
It's a
But it doesn't
win-win for me.
matter. I'm
Yeah.
making $100 million.
Either way, I'm getting a Lamborghini
It
yacht.
doesn't
don't
matter.
fucking
Yeah,
matter.
it doesn't matter, dude. But everybody the people that fell through or fell for it, thinking that McGregor even had a chance,
No.
is crazy. I mean, is there a chance?
Of
There's
course.
always a chance
There's always a chance.
against
There's-
Mayweather,
There's
a person
random
who's
dude on the
fought.
street that has a chance.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like,
Right. I mean, the percent is probably like 0.001 that McGregor's going to land a punch and knock him out.
Yeah.
Is he going to flat out beat him? Hell no.
In a universe that happened, he knocked
Correct.
him out. Not this
Correct.
universe, but
No.
in the infinite universe,
Right.
in one of them,
Yeah.
in the infinite universe, in one of them, one time he won.
Yeah,
Right.
Dr.
It's just
Strange
not gonna.
telling
It's
him
not
there.
gonna. Work. Yeah. It's not gonna work out. But that's kind of the thing is that you're putting a generalist up against a specialist is not gonna work.
Exactly.
It's never gonna work.
Yeah.
And it's always about money. And that's I've told my students this in the past or my fighters. I've said it once or twice. I said, you always hear these guys, these MMA guys calling out boxers. So the reason why they do it is because they know they're going to make boxer money. If they were truly, like, they had real, what is the word I'm looking for? Like,
Integrity.
no, like they really believed in their striking.
Oh,
They
okay,
really
okay.
believed in their striking ability. And they throw kicks. They throw knees. They throw elbows. Why aren't they calling out Thai boxers? Why aren't they calling out Dutch kickboxers? because they know they're going to
The
get
payday's
absolutely
not there.
demolished,
Yeah.
and the payday's not there.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Why are you
That's
calling
true.
out boxers?
that's true.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's not even what you do. You know what I mean? You use your hands, use your feet, use your knees, use your elbows. You're an MMA fighter, and you're calling out boxers. It's a money thing, and
It's a
nobody
money
sees this.
Because then you try to reverse it.
Yeah.
And then it's like, well, have him come into the octagon and
Right,
see what he
dude.
does in the octagon.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, he's not that stupid. He's getting paid millions of dollars to use only hands.
Yeah, it's
Like,
like,
Correct,
yeah, he's
dude.
gonna get
Why-
paid
yeah.
$60,000 to get choked out. Like, what for?
yeah, that's stupid.
Yeah. Why would he get paid $18,000 doing a kickboxing fight just get knocked out with a head kick? You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like, it's not
exactly.
gonna work out, or Muay Thai and get demolished with elbows and cut open.
And people don't understand that, they know that too. The MMA guys is that no matter how much shit they talk, Mayweather elevated Conor McGregor.
Oh,
it wasn't
yeah,
the other way
it
around.
wasn't the other way
It was
around,
never
dude.
the other way around.
I
No.
hate that people was like, McGregor put UFC on the map. I'm like, dude, you know UFC was
It
around
was
for
already on the map,
years
dude.
before
People-
McGregor.
But the
like,
thing about McGregor, which is true, is that he transcended the sport just like a lot of big names of those kind of like names in sports, is that he got people who don't even watch UFC to watch UFC.
Right.
And it's not even about
Fair
fight
enough. I'll give
fans.
you that,
It's
yeah.
almost like celebrity.
yeah, I get what you're saying. Like
Yeah,
a
yeah,
showmanship
yeah.
rather
There's
than
guys that do-
like
yeah.
a skill. Like,
He definitely transcended the sport.
And you know, he's not the first one. He's not the one that started that showman, that
Chael
talk
Sonnen.
crap. Chael Sonnen did it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Chael Sonnen brought that WWE style
Yeah.
shit talking to UFC, and it was brilliant.
Yeah.
The problem was, I think Chael Sonnen kind of did it towards the end of his career. He might have done it a little bit, but I think he was. I might be wrong because I don't watch a whole lot of MMA anymore. I mean, for a long time I've
Yeah.
been watching. But anyway, I feel like he was ramping it up towards the end of his career. Like he was talking more and more crap, and then it was over.
But and
Yeah.
I
And
think he
him
did.
and Wanderlei.
He might have not like done it that way, but even inadvertently, he laid the groundwork to show how
Uh-huh.
the next generation to make money.
This is how you make money.
You want to make.
Yeah.
It don't matter if you're good or not. You want to make money. You sell tickets. You want to sell tickets.
Yeah.
Be this
Correct.
guy. Be the heel. Because
Correct.
it doesn't matter if the guy's like, humble or not. If you're the heel, it plays up the fight. You play up the fight. You sell tickets. You sell tickets. You make money.
Right.
Yeah, exactly.
So even if you get knocked out, people want to see you get knocked out, and they'll pay for it. Fuck it. If
Yeah.
you're gonna get knocked out, if there's a chance you get knocked out anyway, make more money doing it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and that's the thing is that you have to think. When I was a fighter, you'll hear me talk about certain people, fighters, and it sounds like I'm talking shit, right? And I've told some of my fighters this kind of recently. I said, guys, whenever I talk about certain fighters and it sounds like I'm talking shit, I'm not talking shit. I'm talking from a different perspective, right?
Yeah.
So although it might sound like I'm talking shit, I'm not, because I respect every fighter, and I also understand what they're doing. But from my perspective, I don't like what certain fighters do, right? From my perspective.
Right,
and I'm
right.
about to explain that. My perspective is I fought to be a champion, not to win, not for the money.
Yeah.
Now, the money would have been nice,
Yeah.
but that's not what I fought for.
I want the title of being the best,
Correct. I want to die
not showing out.
and having I'll always live on.
Exactly.
When people look at the history of kickboxing, whatever, be like, oh, look, he was a champion in this year. That's what I wanted.
Yeah,
Because it sounds weird, but it's like a legacy.
Exactly.
You're always
yeah.
going to be on that list.
Yeah.
Yeah,
No matter
'cause-
what, I'll be dead 100 years from now. If it's still going on, somebody's going to look through the list and be like, oh, these were all the champions, and I'll be on that list, whether they remember me or not, or my own kids or grandkids or whoever can be like, look, there's grandpa, there's great-grandpa.
Yeah,
He was a
yeah.
world champion in this year. That's badass. That's what I cared about. Now, that money, that would have helped my family, right? But other than that, I fought for me. So that's my perspective. When I look at these guys that are fighting for the money, I get it. Like, I look at McGregor, and I'm like, yeah, he was a champion. He never
Defended.
defended his belts.
Yeah.
Which, whatever.
That's its own thing.
There's an old saying that says, if you don't defend your belts, you're not a real champion, right? You're not a
Yeah.
champion. Or no, I think the old saying is like, you're not a champion till you defended your belt.
Right. I agree.
Are you a champion? Yeah, you won it, but then you quit, or you
Yeah.
quit that whatever, and that's fine. You can do that, and you were a champion, you won. That old saying is whatever. I mean, I agree with it too, to a certain extent.
Right. Exactly.
But I also look at Conor McGregor and say, he's very smart. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, he was very smart.
Business.
Yeah, man. Made
He
money.
ran
Yeah.
it like business. He would win a fight, win a title, and he was smart to say, I'm not going to defend it. I'm going to talk shit, and I'm going to drop to another one or go up to another weight and
Right.
talk shit and make more money.
Mm-hmm.
And I could always go back to that weight class that I won the title at. You know what I mean?
And maybe
And
defend.
make more money.
Yeah, and maybe defend.
And maybe
or just-
defend it
yeah.
or maybe re-get it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I already won that one. And if I move up or move down and I talk all this crap and I can sell tickets and I make more money, if I happen to win that one too, now I got 2 title belts and I'm making more money.
And they're gonna give
It
him the
was
champion
always
as soon
the
as
money.
he, like, as soon as he goes into the other weight
Right.
class, they're like, oh
Yeah.
yeah, just give him the champ.
Right.
He's gonna sell it.
He was in the yes, exactly. So I get what he did and he was very, very smart about it. Do I put him up as a legend in fighting? No.
I feel like he's gonna be very forgettable.
Yeah, absolutely not.
That's why someone like Canelo Alvarez is gonna go down as one of the best boxers because he'll fight the best boxer, and
Right,
maybe
right.
and he does both. He
Yeah.
makes the most money, but he'll also and when he loses, he's gracious about it. He lost to Bivol, and like he was like, the guy beat me, no excuses. I'm gonna come back and get it.
That's boxing. That's the way it should
boxing.
be.
That's what it is.
Yeah.
You lose sometimes, and that's what it is. I'm
Yeah.
gonna keep training. I'm gonna
I
fight
love
the
that
next guy, and
mentality.
hopefully I'll fight him again.
Yeah,
but,
dude.
But I'm gonna fight another guy, and it doesn't matter. People are like, no, he's doing this. He's doing. It's like, no, dude. He's fighting names.
Exactly.
He's fighting. He's
Exactly.
fighting for both. He's getting money, but he's also making a name of, like, when you look back at Canelo Alvarez, whether you like him or not, on paper, he's one of the best boxers in our time.
Yeah,
Yeah.
dude. That
Yeah,
dude-
that's-
I love Canelo.
Yeah, that's a real boxer. Like Raymond Decker, right, from Holland.
Yeah.
Ooh.
He fought Caban 4 times, I believe. If you look it up, I think it was Caban. He fought him 4 times, and I think they're 2-2.
Damn.
That's, to me, when I was coming up, those are the type of things that I would think, like, that's what I want to do. Like, that would be cool, man. Because to me, that was like, that's fighting.
It's
To
You
have
beat
almost like a
me?
nemesis or something.
Let me have at you again.
Yeah.
And if I beat you, all right, cool, let's do it again. They did it 4 times.
It's like for them, it was more about like the honor of being like a true fighter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like it's a true fighting of like, no, dude, when you're a fighter, when you're a real fighter, you'll fight anyone, anytime. And of course, you'll fight the best dude. You don't dodge them. You want to fight
Right.
the
Yeah,
best
yeah,
dude.
yeah,
That's the
exactly.
whole point of why I'm fighting. I'm fighting so that I can fight that guy. And then when I'm that guy, anybody who wants to fight me, I will fight you. And
Right.
if I lose, fuck it. I'll fight you again.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that's why I don't. So Rico Verhoeven, he's Dutch fighter.
Yeah, the champion.
Right. They call him the king of the ring and everything
Yeah.
else or whatever. I don't know what they call him. But anyway, not the king of the ring. That's
I call him Tits McGee.
yes. That guy. So I think he's a really good fighter. I watch
Yeah.
him. He's very technical. He's a good fighter. He's a good Dutch fighter.
fucking gigantic.
But I don't consider him. They say he's like the greatest kickboxer of all time. I'm like, no. And I'm going to tell you why. Because he dodged Gokhan Saki for years. And I can't consider anyone the greatest when you're dodging people.
Until it's
I don't
like
care what
until
your
it makes
record
more
is.
sense to
Dude,
fight him. It's like,
but,
no, dude.
But
makes
Saki's
sense now.
scary, dude.
Yeah, he
That's a
dodged him for
scary man,
years.
bro.
And what's funny is that Glory dodged Gokhan for him for Rico too, because they would
Okay, I get
always
what you're
make up
saying.
excuses to Gokhan why he couldn't fight Rico.
Because he's the
And
fight seller.
Gokhan used to say, "You guys and Rico are together on this."
Yeah.
Like that was his idea. Was
Mm-hmm.
like, you guys are together on this. Like Rico doesn't want to fight me, and you guys don't want me to fight Rico. So Rico blames you guys,
And then you blame Rico.
or whatever. Yeah,
Yeah,
but
right.
Rico would always be like, "It's not up to me. It's up to them," and blah blah. He'd
It's like,
always
no,
make excuses.
Yeah, you can make it
and
happen if you
that's
want.
if you look up the history, it's really interesting. That's why Gokhan went to UFC, is because he couldn't get to the pinnacle because he wasn't given the opportunity to fight.
And you see,
Damn.
like,
So he said, "Screw you guys," and he went to UFC.
and,
So in your opinion, you think Saki would have taken it?
I think so. I think he had a. I think if they would have at least, like, let's say they would have fought once and Rico beat him, I think there should be a rematch. I don't care why.
Trilogy.
And I think
Yeah, trilogy
Saki
easy.
would. Rico's a very good fighter. Don't get me wrong, but Saki's a very elusive fighter for a heavyweight. The way that guy moves
Holy
is kind of like
shit.
he doesn't move exactly like Tyson, but for a heavyweight, he dodges punches like Tyson, and he's got power.
And he's like a viper. What's
Yeah,
so
yeah, yeah.
interesting about Gokhan Saki is that the kind of fighter he is, of like, you would think he'd be slow, but he's quick as fuck. He's strong as fuck. But the thing is, he seems so sure of himself all the time. One thing about Rico that I've always noticed, which I always thought was weird, he always seems really jittery. Have you noticed when he fights, he does like a little merengue?
Yeah.
Like a little like shaking, like almost kind of like it's a way for him to get warmed up, but also kind of like I don't know if it's like a nervous tick. I don't know if it's like a
Yep.
bad habit of like training.
Just yeah.
And or maybe he does it because he thinks it's like a way to
Right.
To throw the
Throw
other
the
guy
person off.
I think it's like a tell because when he's about to strike, he stops doing it. Right before he's
Oh,
about
yeah,
to
yeah, yeah.
strike, he's like this, and then when he's about to throw, he stops and he
Right.
and he
Focuses
braces.
in.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he braces. But when the other times he's very weird until he starts getting a flow.
Yeah.
But I think someone like him, Gokhan, would have taken him easy
Yeah.
because he's smart enough to see through that.
Yeah.
He's like, oh, he's doing that. I'm just gonna go.
Mhm.
I'm just gonna go. This guy's fucking. He's not gonna go. He's shaking. I'm gonna go. He knows when he's gonna go and not. And that kind of fighter would have known that. And even if he would have lost, it would have been a hell of a fight.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It would have. It wouldn't have been you wouldn't have
That would have
bulldozed
sold.
Saki.
That would have sold easy,
yeah,
man. Like,
we as fans lost out on that.
yeah, exactly.
Sucks. It really does.
And that sucks because I think going back to like what you're talking about is like a lot of athletes in every sport now are playing for a longevity, which is fine. Like I get it, you want to get
Longevity
paid
and money.
for longer. You know what I mean? But like it's taking away a lot from sports the way they used to be.
Well, then even Rico, I don't know if you saw it, like in his later career, he was very vocal that he wanted to become an action movie star. And that he even put a
wow.
lot of time that I would follow him on Instagram, and he would put a lot of time to like doing choreographed fight scenes to kind of, I guess, put himself out there to people who do that kind of stuff.
Right.
That's what he wanted to transition to. He wanted to be almost like a Gina
Yeah.
Carano or
Right.
or
Jason Statham.
yeah, you know, someone
Mm-hmm.
who's a legit martial artist that wanted to learn acting that could do well in movies because he had like the
Maurice Smith.
yeah, exactly. yeah, true.
He's been in a couple of movies. He's been in quite a few movies. I
So
think.
you know he started looking
Hilarious.
beyond that, and someone like him was never going to be someone like Saki, who's Saki's true fighter. Rico, who's a good fighter, warrior for sure, but after a while, it's like, oh, I want to move beyond fighting. Someone like Saki's never going to move beyond fighting, and even when he's done fighting, he's like, okay, I'm done fighting.
Right.
Now I'm
He
just going to
move
be
on.
normal. I'm not trying to be anything. I'm a fighter.
Right.
That's just
Yeah,
who
yeah,
I
yeah.
am.
Yeah.
And
I
that-
love Saki.
yeah, and that's what's sad about Rico is that, you know, he doesn't care about the respect of fans or even other martial artists. That if he would have fought Saki when Saki wanted to fight him immediately, even if he lost, people would have respected him.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Even losing, it's like, we respect you.
Correct.
Like, hey, dude, you fought one of the best, you lost. Ain't nothing to hang your head low. And
Yeah, exactly.
Rematch him.
Yeah,
Yeah,
not
that's
everyone's
not a
good
name.
enough to
That's
fight
not a
Saki.
name to be ashamed of that you
No.
lost to. That's like
No.
saying I lost to Mike Tyson. Like, well, dude,
Right.
that's. I mean, I can understand why. Like, you know
and
what I mean?
he's almost lost to lesser names.
Yeah, I've
Yeah,
seen him.
exactly.
I mean, just his last fight. I don't know if y'all saw. I didn't see the whole fight, but I saw some highlights. He almost got knocked out.
Yeah.
Done.
I did
He
see it.
dropped.
Yeah.
Who is that fighter?
back
the,
up.
The heavyweight who looks like a big, like, brown Tony Robbins. You know what I'm talking about? He's a real like big name in heavyweight kickboxing too. He almost had him too. That was a good fight.
Brown Tony Robbins. He's all motivational to you after you lose.
Yeah,
keep your head up, man. You can do it. You know, you just gotta go on in life and just look forward. You know what I mean?
He's like,
I want
"Nah,
to
you
be
just
I want
gotta-"
to be a motivational speaker, you know, and just talk, just say so many different like lines and
Just
that people
bullshit.
can't keep
Yeah,
up.
just-
Yeah, they just can't keep up. You know what I mean?
He's like, you just gotta take it one day at a
just
time
gotta
and give it
take
110%.
What is that from?
From Bedazzled.
Yeah, dude, that's right. I love that. All spitting everywhere, sweating all over the place.
Oh man, I
Take
don't
it
even
one
know
at a time.
where this guy's at because he's not even in the top 10 anymore. But he's fighting a lot of. He was in the top 3 for a while, but man, I haven't seen Glory in a while either.
K1's back, man.
Really?
Yeah. I think last September was their first show officially like back. So apparently they've been kind of hanging around,
Yeah.
but they weren't like fully K1. It was just kind of like, we're kind of whatever, like doing a co-show with K1. Anyway, but they like had this big write-up. I read it back in August, and they're like, we're back. Like K1 is back. And in September, I think they had the first K1 tournament in, I don't know, a decade or something.
Anybody like notable
No, there were a bunch of dudes I never heard of because it's a new, it's a new-
organization? So they're getting like the young up and coming.
Yeah.
talent. They're gonna launch
And
them.
there
they're
was
gonna
there was a
launch
couple of whatever in there, but and then I think recently they just had, I want to say like 2 weeks ago, I didn't know about it. It was free. These things are free online, by the way. You can watch the day in K1. They just had the K1 World Max tournament.
them. Uh-huh.
Huge, 16 dudes, I think. in a tournament. They had
Wait,
a
so
16
like guys
man.
are fighting what 3 times in a night? The
Yeah,
winner is
it
gonna
was-
fight 3 times, or
I
the
don't-
last match is
So
3 times. in a
I
night.
don't on this one. I don't know if they did a tournament like a one night tournament
Yeah.
or if it was single fights
Okay.
to go to the 8-man tournament.
Oh,
I'm not
okay.
sure. But I saw the bracket because I had already missed it, and I saw the bracket of all the fights. It was like 23 fights that night, including the undercard. And the K1 World Max is 155er, so it was all the light guys, which is really awesome. Those guys are fast. I love the K1 World Max. It was amazing with Andy Sauer and
Oh,
Masato
yeah,
and
dude.
all these
Andy
guys.
Sauer
Oh,
had
those were the
that-
days, dude.
Rip the left hook to the body, right low kick. That
Yeah,
was so
dude.
when he was the shoot box champion.
Yeah,
He was just lighting people
dude.
up.
He was amazing. Yeah, probably behind Maurice Smith. I think Andy Sauer is probably my second favorite fighter of all time.
for sure.
And
Tyrone
fucking
Spong, of
great.
course, was amazing too, and Gokhan Saki. But K1 World Max is back, so that's really cool. But yeah,
Anybody, to the one guy listening to this, if you want to learn kickboxing, Freddie has a martial arts kickboxing channel where he'll teach you some of the basics and even some light advanced stuff of what's it called, Fred?
Fighters University.
Fighters University. That's on
Okay.
YouTube and Instagram, right?
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah,
That's
man.
I
Salty.
appreciate everyone listening. Buy one guy that listens.
Yeah. See you later, buddy.